Hello, and welcome back to some more Rune Factory 3 time. It's been a little while. So be it. Hope you've enjoyed some Legend of Zelda. I am probably going to be uploading that in place of Rune Factory video. In place of some Rune Factory videos in the upcoming future, whenever time comes for that. Whatever. Oof. There's stuff I wanted to talk about. Right. As everyone who's been part of a community knows by now, there's nothing worse for like a game or show, basically anything, than for there to be a community dedicated to that thing. Anyone who tried to take part in the My Little Pony community would understand that sometimes communities for things can be really bad. There's a Rune Factory community even that I had tried to join at one point, until some random dude bro started yelling at me that, like, material bonuses don't stack on animal companions in Rune Factory 4, and no matter how much I tried to tell him that I could show him proof of it, he just screamed at me, "No, it can't happen, you're lying, 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 you're lying." And he also called me a bunch of names I'm just not going to repeat, because I don't want to repeat them. And then had the mods immediately ban me. It's like, I can stream it to you. It's like, I could have streamed it and shown you my evidence that you can absolutely stack bonuses on your animal companions if you do it the way that I had explained that you do it. In Rune Factory 4, and I think in Rune Factory 5, but I haven't tested Rune Factory 5, but I know it works in Rune Factory 4 as well as Rune Factory 4 Special. Take, for example, the Ambrosia Thorns that you get for beating the first boss. One of the things that gives is a 10% sleep chance. So if you put down a weapon, 10% chance when you hit an enemy that they fall asleep, provided that they don't have resistance to sleep. When you give items to your animal companions, they take the non-stat bonuses permanently. I did this a lot during my casual playthrough of Rune Factory 4 that you could see on this same channel, where I farmed Ambrosia Thorns, gave 10 of them to an animal companion over the course of 10 days, because only the first one that you give to a companion in any given day actually counts, and then I had a 100% chance to cause sleep. Like, you can just catch a random sheep, no chance to cause sleep with the sheep, whatever, have it attack enemies. Like, you can see, look, it's not causing sleep. Give it Ambrosia Thorns. Sleep till next day. Give Ambrosia Thorns, sleep till next day. Over and over till it has 10. And if you really want to lock in the proof, sleep again to the next day, when the effect should have worn off. Take it out. Every single attack leads to sleep. This guy's like, no, it's only going to be a 10% chance that only lasts till the end of the day, and you saying that it was 100% chance, blah, blah, blah. No, that's just anecdotal. You're just lying. You just got extremely lucky, and it just looked like every single attack would cause... every single attack would cause sleep, because that was like a 1 in 100 trillion billion chance. You actually just hit the 10% with every single attack. It's like, no, dude, it is... Like, this is legitimately how the game works. I have tested for myself. I have seen it myself. I can show you. No, the guy would rather just scream and call me names and get the mods to ban me off of that server, so... Nothing worse for a thing than to have a community based about it. And the topic that brings this to mind specifically is... Magic the Gathering Commander, which, frankly, I am really growing sick and tired of. And I kind of wish I could just get into something different. You know what could be nice? Playing some nice White Shores with people. Actually, I have like an app for it that I found where you can like play against a bot and potentially play against people online. Gosh, if only, yeah, if only I could have a big enough community. Oh my god. So, I'm trying... How do I explain this to someone who isn't in the know about it? Okay. Commander is supposed to be a casual format of Magic the Gathering, the most popular trading card game in the world. If you follow my content at all and don't know what Magic the Gathering is, then I don't know how to better explain it than that. Some, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, whatever number of years ago, a group of people got together and said, you know what? We should make a nice casual format for this game. 4-player instead of 1v1. And we just kind of have fun slinging cards. We don't care about, oh, we must make the bestest of the bestest, whatever. Whatever, just... Hey, that 8 mana force... You know, hey, you know those really bad cards that you would never play normally? Yeah, sure, play them. They're fine, whatever. Just play the bad cards. And I think the people who originally started the format became the rules committee, the people in charge of maintaining the rules for the game, because sometimes Magic would change, and so Commander would also have to change to reflect that. For example, there used to be a rule in Commander specifically where if you would make mana of a color outside your Commander's color identity, it would become colorless instead. Yeah, color identity, an additional rule in Commander. It doesn't really need to be brought up that much, not too important for this whole argument. Regardless, at some point, Wizards of the Coast created specifically colorless mana. It used to be that all the mana that wasn't colored was colorless mana. So you'd have a card that costs like 2 mana of any color and a blue, and it would be 2 colors and a blue. Any mana could be used to pay for colorless mana. But that changed quite a few years ago by now, when they made specifically colorless mana. You had to use mana that produces colorless mana to pay for this colorless mana cost. And now stuff like Sol Ring, that card's gonna come up again later, that used to be like tap, add 2. It would have like a 2 in a circle to show like 2 colorless mana. 2 mana that could be used for stuff that only that mana of any color could be used for, is now tap, add diamond, diamond, where diamond is a new colorless mana symbol. So it's kind of like they added a 6th color. Really, it's kind of like they added a 7th color of Magic, because there's already snow, which is its own entire thing. But of course, you can't choose colorless for stuff that cares about any color, and the basic land that specifically produces colorless mana doesn't have a basic land type for stuff that cares about basic land types. Yeah, wastes, or waste is not a basic land type. Waste is not a land type at all, which some people don't really seem to notice, because they just assume, oh, it's a basic land, it's called wastes. Surely it's a basic land wastes. No, just a basic land. Yeah, the first typeless, or subtypeless basic land. Whatever. So, yeah, the Commander Rules Committee changed the rules to say that it's like, okay, you can produce mana outside the Commander's color identity, and it will be that color of mana. Because otherwise people would use stuff like, haha, I'll tap this for any color of mana, but I'll make like a red mana, and that'll become colorless, so now I can play this color spell without needing to put in lands that produce colorless mana. Haha! It's like, no. Just make the colorless mana for your colorless spells. There aren't that many spells that specifically require colorless mana, but there are a few. And like, that's like... So, occasional rule changes like that. Changing the mulligans, changing how commanders interact with the graveyard and library. Whatever. That's most of what they did, but they also handled a ban list. Some cards are just considered to be too powerful for commander, and it was never really properly explained what exactly about a card makes a card reasonable to be banned, but makes a similar card unreasonable to be banned. Like, some cards are really bad play experiences for the entire table, like Armageddon that destroys all lands, but those are fine. But other cards that lead to poor play experiences, like Balance or Sundering Titan, which can both also destroy all lands, those are banned, but Armageddon isn't. So it's like, basically since its inception, the ban list has always been wishy-washy, wibbly-wobbly. People have been confused by why certain cards are on there, and then occasionally a card that people love gets banned because it's like Prophet of Krufix. I remember when people played Prophet of Krufix. Oh my gosh, that card was so annoying to play against. Prophet of Krufix, just some whatever creature. Untap all of your lands during everyone else's turns, and you can cast creature spells as though they had flash. So if you're playing a deck that mostly had creature spells, play Prophet of Krufix. Pass a turn. Have a turn during everyone else's turn. Especially if you're... It's like, oh yeah, I'll just play this creature. It draws me a card. Oh, I'll play... It's like, oh, you attack me, I'll play this creature and block it. Like, oh yeah, play creature. And yeah, someone gets a Prophet of Krufix. If it isn't immediately countered or instant speed killed, that player runs away with the game. Because even if the next player does something, they can still get a free creature out or two. Free creature or two out. It's just, that's just how the game is. So Prophet of Krufix got banned. Some people got really upset by it. I was all like, yes, I don't have to see that annoying bloody thing anymore. Whatever. Or like Golos, a 5-color identity commander that only cost colorless mana and was so absolutely generic in what it did that practically every single commander deck would have been improved by replacing their commander with Golos. Not literally every single one, but basically every single commander deck would be made better by replacing the commander with Golos. Because I believe it's like 6 mana. When it enters, search your library for a land, not basic land, just any land, just put it into play. It's like, even if someone plays it, unless it gets counted immediately, as long as it hits the board, they get an extra land. Oh no, it gets removed. Okay, next time I play a land for a turn, and then I play the Golos again. Instead of needing 2 extra mana, you basically just need the 1 extra. And if the land you search for produces multiple colors, or multiple manas, like Gaia's Cradle, there's that Urborg, what's the one that goes, whatever, the one that goes with Urborg, or an Ancient Tomb, whatever, you can just net extra mana by having the Golos be removed. And that's just, like, okay, so now everyone has to play counterspells in their Golos decks for everyone else's Golos decks. That card got banned, so many people were upset by it, and it's like, that card, again, why play anything else as your commander? Unless the deck specifically runs on just the commander and needs that card and needs access to it, like, a lot. Play Golos instead, it's just better. When it got banned, in the outcry of people complaining about it being banned, literally saw one person say, but I had 5 Golos decks. I don't think there's, like, basically any other commander where someone would make 5 different decks for that one commander. Maybe 2. 3 would be stretching it. Not 5. Nobody's outcrying, oh, but I had 5 Hapatra Vizier of Poisons decks. No one had, so, oh, well, I have 5 different Sliver Queen decks. Like, no, it's just that. So, yeah, that card got banned. Or because it was just played too much. So Iona got banned because Iona was just a feels bad experience, just for like one player at the table. And then, yeah. Iona's like a 8 or 9 mana legendary creature angel that's just, your opponents can't, like as it enters, choose a color, your opponents can't cast spells of that color. So if one of your opponents is playing a single color deck, you're just like, oh yeah, no, y'all can't play green spells anymore. That one player is just like, okay, well, I can't play anymore. All my spells are green. Sure, I'll play this Solving. What's that gonna help? Everything, like, good. And it's like, oh, I have this creature in my hand that could remove it. Or, hey, I have this spell that could remove it. No, you can't, because you can't play it. You just can't play anymore. You have to wait for someone else to remove the Iona, and then you can play. But other people probably won't kill the Iona. Because they'll be like, oh, but this is stopping you from playing, which helps me, so why would I remove it if it's just hurting you? So one person just has to sit there for the rest of the game. Everyone just leaves them alone, and then Iona player probably wins because they have, you know, a giant flyer on board that no one else wants to remove. And that's it. That's the game. That's the gameplay experience. You have fun? No? Yeah, I can imagine. What else was there? What else was there? Oh yeah, and at the same time that they banned Iona, they also unbanned Painter Servant. An artifact creature, when it enters, you choose a color. All cards and all permanents are the chosen color, even ones that are in the hand. I think the two were like a lock in, I don't know, Modern or something at some point. Some other format. Because you play Painter Servant, name a color, play Iona, name the same color. Your opponents can't cast any spells because all spells are that color. But you still can, because Iona doesn't stop you. Painter Servant got unbanned, jumped up in price a bit because there is a combo with one specific other card, but and then just kind of like died out. I think I've seen it played like twice since then. People wanted it, but it didn't actually matter enough to be cared about, so yeah, so it went. Oh, whoopsies. Forgot to heal before doing this. Anyway, whatever. So, recently, it's like the last, like, ban list change. The last, like, real thing that the rules committee did to affect the game of Commander was a couple of years ago, where I think they unbanned Worldfire. I think that was the last one. And the card basically shot up from being like a 50-cent card to like a $20 card in a matter of hours. I managed to get 2 of them for like $1 each or something. And I run one of them in a deck. I've seen it played a few times since then. Sometimes people get really upset, but sometimes people just get so excited. It's like, yeah, Worldfire, let's do this. And like, I'm a fan of it just because, like, hey, that's kooky and funny and weird, and only once has it led to actually, like, a long nothing game. Usually the nothing games afterwards are pretty fast because everyone's at 1 life. So it's just, top deck, oh, I got nothing. Top deck, oh, I got a land. It's like, and someone eventually, like, has a land, gets out a creature. It's like, oh, I can start killing people now. Someone else like, okay, oh, it's my land, and here's the creature as well, so now I can block you. Like, usually it's just one person gets a creature, kill, 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 game. Or the person playing Worldfire has a plan for it. I think it originally got banned because people were casting Worldfire and floating enough mana that they can then cast their commander. It's actually a strategy that I wound up leading to with my little brother making his ponies deck, where basically his win con is literally just play Worldfire, have a bit of extra mana, play Twilight Sparkle from the command zone, and spend the next few turns just winning. Just kill, 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 game. But it's like, Woodfire is like a 9 mana spell. If you can afford that, plus also your commander, like, you know what? Sure, take the win. Some people get really mad at it, though. Some people like it. Some get extremely mad. Some people just get stupid mad at some cards for whatever reason. Warp World. I love Warp World. Playing against it. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's fun. Let's do it. Like, I have half a mind to try to somehow manage to fit Warp World into, into a CDH deck. Just to play Warp World. Just ramp up in red like crazy, crazy, crazy. Get a whole bunch of whatever permanents on board. I guess it would have been easier back when I had Dockside, which is the conversation that I meant to go into, but whatever. And then just Warp World, have a bunch of treasures and stuff get all shuffled in. Hey, look, I get like 20 cards, and a lot of them are permanents, and y'all get stuck with like 2 because there's so many instants and sorceries in CDH. Right. Dockside Extortionist. A card that was absolutely a creative mistake in the hands of Wizards of the Coast. Should not have ever been made in the first place, but did. Recently got banned, and I talked about that in a recent episode. Dockside Extortionist, Mana Crypt, and Jewel Lotus, as well as Nadu. But no one really cares about Nadu. As far as I know, no one really cares. But I think people like that it got banned. It was annoying. Annoying to play and annoying to play against. People who played the deck complained about it. Anyway, because communities are what they are, and the angriest people are the most vocal, the Rules Committee got a series of death threats about their choice to ban these cards. And, like, on the one hand, some people had spent, you know, tens of thousands of dollars on some shiny pieces of paper and wanted these shiny pieces of paper to only go up in value because they considered that a children's card game was a suitable investment into life and stuff. Someone had mentioned that people use like magic cards to like launder like drug money or something. I have no idea about that, but the fact that like magic cards, like buy a magic card for $500, go across the border with it. What? It's just a magic card. The security people won't even look at it or consider its value, and then sell it on the other side, and boom, money. Or, you know, I think. Okay, the only reason why I know this is because I used to watch Border Patrol. There's a time when I watched a bunch of Border Patrol. So I believe that if you are crossing the Canada-US border, if you have more than $10,000 in cash on you, or like traveling with you, you have to declare it, and it gets taxes. So some people, they don't want it to declare it and have to pay taxes, so they carry like $9,900. Say, oh, I don't have 10K, but that still gets them searched anyway because that's mighty suspicious. But someone might have $20,000 worth of magic cards they buy in one country, travel the border. It's like, oh no, it's just, you know, some magic decks. What? Oh yeah, just some magic cards, whatever. Board agent isn't going to tax the person on children's playing cards, so like, okay, fine, whatever. Cross the border, sell them there, transfer money for whatever purposes that they needed to transfer the money for. Like, and once again, I'm not saying that this is a thing that happens. I'm saying that I can understand why. It's like, I can understand that this is a thing that people could do, even if I'm totally not sure if people actually do wind up doing this. I can see the plausibility in it. However, imagine if someone bought, you know, $20,000 worth of magic cards, crossed the border, and while they were crossing, the ban happened, and the cards dropped from like $20,000 to like 15,000 because they didn't all drop completely down to nothing. They still have value, just not as much. But yeah, and it's like, oh, you're going to give me the $20,000 you owe me. Where's that money? It's like, oh, well, now it's only 15,000 because some 5 people decided that these cards, right? Like, yeah, there are a lot of videos of people just like, well, it was nice knowing you, and throwing what was thousands of dollars worth of cards just into a garbage can. Whatever. Oh, these cards mean nothing to me anymore. They only meant something to me when they had money. Just card, 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 card. Like probably $2,000 or $3,000 worth of cards just into the trash can. They don't mean nothing to me. And it's like, yeah, I understand they picked them up out of the trash after, but it's like people who legitimately only saw the cards as an investment and wanted to gain on it later, like NFTs, and then the NFT bubble bursts, and then they getting stuck with shiny pieces of paper that really don't particularly have much of any value. Other than, oh, they look nice. Um, but anyway, so on the one hand, people lost our money. On the other hand, the rules committee are like human people and don't deserve death threats. And it's like, I, for one, personally have not seen any of these death threats that people are saying that have been sent. However, I, for one, am also a human person and have received death threats for much, much less than this. I've received death threats over the stupidest things. I can absolutely believe that the Rules Committee has received death threats over their choices of banning cards for a casual format of a children's card game. I got death threats for claiming that a mechanic in Rune Factory 4 exists while I was correct. Like, there is nothing worse for a thing than to have a large community. I've said it before, I don't want to be like a big time. I kind of don't want to be a big time YouTuber because, like, I've definitely seen some, like, comments from people who think that they are the main character of the universe and that their word is God. And that's like, just, death threats because someone is popular. And then these people's like, oh yeah. It's like, they leave comments and stuff saying how they want to murder the person. Again, won't go into details about how, but sometimes they get into really big details about how they want to murder a person. And it's like, these people giving death threats, like, that is illegal, right? Like, conspiracy to commit first degree murder. Isn't that a crime? To people say that they have the right to say whatever they want, but it's like, while you are able to say it, it's still a crime to say that you are going to do a serious crime. That's why suicide is a crime, because the police are allowed to, and the police are only allowed to, quote unquote, they do stuff they're not allowed to do all the time, I know it, but surface level, the police are only allowed to intervene on a thing before it happens if they have reason to believe that someone is going to commit a crime. So if suicide wasn't a crime, then the police would not legally be able to do anything about suicide. It's like, but since suicide is a crime, if the police hear that someone is going to commit suicide, they are legally allowed to and legally supposed to try to stop it. And this is a thing that I actually have a personal stake towards because an old friend of mine actually tried to commit suicide, and we were able to get paramedics there in time to save his life. But, like, that's a tangent. But it's like you should be able to do like the same thing if someone's like, "Oh, I'm going to such and such to you," and someone's leaving a comment saying that they're going to kill someone. You should be able to like call the police on them and say like, "Yeah, this person at such and such place has stated that they are going to kill me," and the person should be able to be arrested for that. It's like maybe not held in prison the rest of their life, but potentially like put them through anger management, put them through therapy. I think that's the big things, right? Anger management specifically. Put them through anger management until such a time as the anger management like therapist is able to like say it's like, okay, this person, you know, has learned their lesson and they're not going to give death threats anymore. That would make me feel a lot safer as a citizen if I could. It's like, yeah, getting someone arrested, blah blah. It's like, yeah, one, have this person be watched so they don't actually murder anyone, and two, put them into anger management or therapy or whatever it's required to get them to stop wanting to murder other people. And now in the commander community, there are apparently a lot of people who need both of these right now. Like, I am a person who gets banned off of like commander discords for stupid reasons all the time. I don't issue death threats to the people before or after I get banned. I don't. It's like I have had a number of like stories from these different servers, from mods screaming at me to someone buying their way up to being a mod just so they could try to bully me. I didn't issue death threat to the person before the incident, and I do not wish death upon the people afterwards. I wish for them to see the errors of their ways and change. I do not wish death upon them. But yet I'm still the villain because people have an issue with me, so obviously it's my fault. So, at least partially because of all of these death threats and whatnot, the Rules Committee has decided that they want to officially step down. And it's like, okay, they are free to do that. It's not like they're being paid by the community to maintain ban lists or whatever. They're doing this out of like the goodness of their own heart. They decided they wanted to step down. Hey, getting death threats over this is too much. We say no, and I say, good for you for for establishing your boundaries. Unfortunately, now Wizards of the Coast is taking up the Commander of Rules thing, and they've already stated that they want to change up Commander at least somewhat. So it's just a matter of time before we see what's going on, because now just a number of years ago, there was a deck building website. I forget the name of it. Tapped Out? Maybe. I don't know. Whatever. There's a deck building website. You could go on there, build a deck, even set to Commander, build a Commander deck on it. And it was a way of sharing cards and stuff. I transferred over to Moxfield because like the UI is better and stuff. and you could share with other things more easily. Whatever. That website had for at least a couple, at least for a period of a few months, that website had a thing where you could basically, where it would look at all of the cards you have in the deck and decide what the power level of the deck is. It had like a range from low to high, and it could say like, oh, this is like 68% competitive, whatever. 32% non-competitive. Or casual, whatever. And in part, it seemed interesting at least. It's like, oh, well, you have, you have your cyclonic rifts, you have your force of wills, like, the deck's going to be more competitive because all it did was it took a look at each individual card in the deck and put it into its scale of how competitive it thinks that the cards are. However, one person decided to break the system a little by making a 100% competitive commander deck, just to make that bar say 100%. Looking through the deck list, yeah, there are some good cards in it. That deck kind of sucks. Like, the cards that were selected for that deck specifically don't exactly work so well together. But because every individual card is a, competitive card, it was listed as 100%. Even though it should really have been more like 50-ish. But anyone who had lived through that thing, or like, would be able to do, basically anyone who's tried to play Magic for an extended period of time, casual, competitive, whatever, would start to learn that just because you have, some good cards in the deck doesn't mean that the deck is good. And you can see this in Commander all the time, even. Someone might have some, 8 mana vanilla commander that's really a really bad commander, and they say, oh yeah, the deck is just here for fun, whatever. But then they have, like, cyclonic rifts and mana crypts and sol rings and fast mana. Well, just to get out their 8 mana do nothing commander. And there's no other actual payoff for the mana. So it is actually just a casual deck. Or they might be all like, oh yeah, this is a budget deck. Here's my commander, and it doesn't actually really matter what the rest of my cards are. Yeah, sure, they're all cheap cards, but because of my commander specifically, this is already a high tier deck, even if it's cheap. Even though the other 99 cards are bad, this one card makes the entire deck really strong. Yeah, they have Golos as the commander. Like, the rest of the cards are bad cards, but Golos makes the entire deck awesome, so it doesn't actually matter. Something like that. But now, I'm not even sure I fully understand what the idea is for this, but it seems like that the general idea is that Wizards of the Coast is going to establish a new tier system for a commander, which, it's good. The tier system that we have is bogus. A 1 through 10 scale, but no decks are ever a 5 or below, so it's really... Or no decks are ever, like, below a 5, so it's really a 5 to 10 scale, but 9 and 10 are both CDH, so it's either 5, 6, 7, or 8. And 99% of those decks are 7s. It's either Precon, which could be anything from bad to an 8, depending on what Precon it is, because some of the newer Precons are really good, and there is a $100 Precon that got released a couple of years ago that's actually just a really solid deck and is flat high power, But it was a precon, so it's a precon, so it's a precon. And all precons are apparently 5s, even though that one really isn't. Yeah, I got completely blasted out in a precons, quote-unquote precons only game once because someone brought along that precon. It was the arch enemy for the entire game and could not be stopped by 3 people playing precons. Oh no, not that one, but a different, whatever. So instead of a 5 to 8 scale, there's going to be a 1 through 4 scale with different cards having different rankings. So it's like, oh yeah, well this deck is mostly just power level 1 cards, but it also has like these 2 power level 4 cards, so it's still basically a power level 1. And like the idea is that people will read through these lists of what cards are which power levels and either entirely or at least mostly build the deck around certain power levels. And so it's like, oh yeah, I have a lot of like 1 and 2 cards, so I'd say this deck is a 2. It's like, oh well, this deck is mostly 1 cards with a couple of 2 cards and like a single like tier 4 card. So it's basically the same. But if you remember my rant in the last Rune Factory video where I talked about this, like a deck could have just entirely tier 1 cards except have like 1 dockside, and that one dockside could shove it up to a 3. However, soloing should also count as tier 4. And like every commander deck has a soloing, and just having a soloing doesn't make a deck like tier 3 or 4. So then there's the question of like, okay, like either A, soloing is going to count as a tier 1 card just so people don't feel bad about having it in every single deck when it really shouldn't be a tier 1 card, or B, it's going to be a tier 4 card, and then the pregame conversation is going to be like, yeah, this is a tier 1 deck with soloing. Oh, this is a tier 1 deck with soloing. Oh, I also have a tier 1 deck with soloing. Oh yeah, I'll play a tier 1 deck with soloing, because that's 4 people. And then they all just play their tier 1 decks with soloing. And then it won't matter, because everyone is playing the same tier 4 card. Like, I'd almost expect soloing just be an asterisk, and just assume this is in every deck, it doesn't matter what its power level is, everyone is going to be running it. Which then kind of really hampers when someone's like, oh yeah, this is a tier 2 deck, but I don't have soloing. Oh, why do you not have soloing? Are you a moron? You should die because you don't have a soloing in your deck. I am going to... Rah, rah, rah. Yes, people have called me a moron for not playing solvings in some commander decks, but it's like, it's an Amori deck. It's Amori, not an artifact Amori deck. Amori enchantments, or creatures, or planeswalkers, or Amori kindred. I can't run a solving. Oh, I'll just take out the Amori and just throw in a solving instead, because that'll make your deck like 100 times better. It's like, the point is to play Amori, not to just run a solving. Oh, well, you're a moron for playing that then. And it's like... yeah, thanks for letting me know to just block you and never listen to your input about anything ever again. Of course, the issue is if you're talking to these people in person, it's like, oh yeah, this is a Mori Planeswalker's deck. Blah, blah, blah. It's like... And then someone realizes, wait, you don't have sawing? You're an idiot for not running a sawing. It's like, sawing should be like a tier 4 card. And it's like... Mori Planeswalkers, I can't really see... Okay. That's also an issue. Right there. The Mori Planeswalker stack. I couldn't see that being above a 2. It's probably just a 1. Might be a 2. But, based on how individual cards in a vacuum are going to be calculated, some decks are going to be higher than their cards would say that they are. Doubling Season by itself does nothing. If you just have a Doubling Season in a vacuum, it does literally nothing. Doubling Season, 5 mana enchantment. Whenever a permanent you control, whenever an ability would put 1 or more counters on a permanent you control, put on twice that many instead. And whenever you would make 1 or more tokens, create twice that many instead. By itself, with nothing to put on counters or make tokens, it does literally nothing. it's only good if you have stuff that does the other things. Of course, if you're going to be playing doubling season, it's like easy to assume that you're going to be doing something with it. However, I have not seen anyone but me play a doubling season in so bloody long. It is not a CEDH card. Period. Like, just period. You're not going to spend 5 mana just to double up. Like, doubling season is not a CEDH level card, so it should not be tier 4 too. And like, also that's the thing. Tier 4 is supposed to be high power, but high power and CDH are 2 different power levels. So is CDH going to be a secret tier 5 or is CDH going to be shunted down to tier 4? But it's like doubling season is really, really good in the decks that want a doubling season. So it makes sense for that to be like a tier 3 or tier 4 card because the only decks that would run it. My entire computer is going bad right now, and I don't know why. My monitor has apparently disconnected itself. My monitor does not want me to play Boon Factory. Fortunately, I can play using the OBS display on my other monitor, so it's fine. So, yeah. Any commander deck that's running doubling season wants to use it and make it a good card, so it's probably tier 3 or 4. And then you look at, say, the Planeswalkers themselves. Like, there are people who argue that no matter what the Planeswalker is, that all Planeswalkers are tier 3 and 4 because of how Planeswalkers work and generate value over time. I'd say for the most part, Planeswalkers are 2, with, some of them being different power levels, but that mostly there'd be 2s. Partially specifically because they can be attacked. Planeswalkers with their support get really, really good. Planeswalkers without the support are okay. I'm not going to say that they are generally bad. But without support, they are worse than they are with support. That's why people run the support. When you sit down to play Commander and you find out that someone's running a Planeswalker stack, you get that little twinge of, oh my, it's like, wee-woo, oh no. Because Planeswalker decks are really good because they have the support, they have like the doubling seasons. They play doubling season, play a Planeswalker, immediately use its game-winning ability, win the game. But should the Planeswalker itself be considered a tier 4 because it has an ability that could lead to winning the game if you use it? Or should it be that the doubling season gets like the tier 4 because it enables you to immediately get to there? Like, one could totally just put out a Planeswalker, uptick, like, over the course of 6 turns, just keep upticking it. Then if no one ever attacks it, ultimate it, win the game. Is that tier 4 because that one card won them the game? Or is that, like, tier 2 because it took them, like, 6 turns to win the game? Was it tier 1 because they only won the game because everybody just basically decided to let them? And if it's tier 1 because, oh, well, the other people could have done something as simple as attack it, well, then what if someone plays some, tier 1 creatures as well to keep blocking it? What's the tier level of Stuffy Doll? Is every Magic card going to be sorted into these 4 tiers? Or is it going to be like, these are tier 4, maybe some for tier 3, and then just choose between yourselves tier 1 and tier 2? Is Wizards of the Coast going to go through every single card that's ever been printed for Magic the Gathering and say, like, these are tier 4s, these are tier 3s, these are tier 2s. If we haven't stated them, they're tier 1s. People could be like, oh, hey, here's a card from 25 years ago that was a common at some point. It's like, you didn't say this is a higher tier, even though it's, like, really good. Like, like when Nadu really started getting to a swing of things, people were playing this like 3 mana Sapphire whatever card because it has the possibility of whenever a player casts a blue spell, you get to target one of your creatures for free. Because it had gotten abated at some point to allow that to happen. And it's like that card probably would just be a tier 1, but it's an enabler for like when if you want to target your own creatures. So people are saying it's like, oh well, there's probably going to be like 4 tiers of CDH. And just like, yeah, CDH tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because of and like, yeah, I can see this stuff happening. Like stuff it all by itself. 5 mana for 0/1 indestructible, blah blah, redirect damage, blah blah. I mean, it's 5 mana for a 0/1, even if it is indestructible, so that would be like tier 1 right there. But if you put that out and then put like a Guilty Conscience on it, Guilty Conscience would probably also only be a tier 1 card whenever a 1 mana or whenever an enchanted creature deals damage, it deals that Guilty Conscience deals that much damage to the creature. Potentially basically just a 1 mana slow removal spell. You put on an opponent's creature that has equal as much or more power than it has toughness. You either swing into them and have them block, or let them swing into you. The creature deals its damage and then dies. But you put Guilty Conscience on a stuffy doll and tap it, you kill an opponent. With 2 arguably tier 1 cards. 2-card kill an opponent. But then there's like Brash Taunter, which is like an upgraded stuffy doll. Would Brash Taunter be tier 3? It's not tier 4, right? It's not CDH viable. Would it be just tier 2 then? That, with the Guilty Conscience, kills all of your opponents. Like, there's... Like, if Wizards of the Coast does make a thing of saying, like, oh yeah, these cards are such and such power level, and they try to make a flat argument for every single card, maybe you can go and gather and see it's like, oh yeah, tier 2, tier 3. So you'd have to look up for every card you put in your deck, just in case. Oh, shoot, this tier 2 deck has a tier 3 card, and I totally forgot to mention it, because I just pulled it out of a booster pack, put it in my deck. I thought my deck was tier 2, because it seems to jam all the tier 2s, but I accidentally put a tier 3 in it and didn't tell my playgroup, and now someone wants to murder me. Like, it's reasonable to believe that, oh, if you play the wrong power level, nothing bad will happen, but we've already seen that Commander players are fully capable of and willing to give out death threats over nothing. I'm just torn. I wanted to play more Magic because it's nice. It's a nice nothing game. Playing Magic the Gathering is like, eating bread. It's alright. Sometimes it's good, toast with some like melted butter on it. It's like, oh my gosh, yes. Sometimes it's bad if it's, burnt toast or like the end piece, whatever. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's there. It's not as filling as it claims to be. More expensive than it's worth. There was some cheap additives and fillers to make it overall just not healthy. And of course, people are just generally scared about Wizards of the Coast gaining the reins of Commander now, because surely Wizards of the Coast is going to just introduce some completely busted new card again, have it be like the card that's selling all of their booster packs, or maybe make a Secret Lair. It's like, yeah, Secret Lair, it has 1 card, it has essentially Mana Crypt, but it's not actually Mana Crypt, And this particular card is not banned in Commander, even though Mana Crypt is. So if you want to officially be able to play Mana Crypt in tournament play, you have to buy this $500 secret layer just to get this one card. Oh, by the way, like 2 days after this secret layer comes, about a week after we can expect this to have been shipped to you, there's going to be a $10,000 prize commander tournament. We can play this brand new card in. Everyone else is going to be playing. Like, yeah, give $10,000 to the winner, but as long as you can sell, what, 20? As long as you can sell 20 of this card, you've made up the price. Yeah, $500 times 2 would be 1,000. 2, and then times 10 would be 10,000. 2 times 10 is 20. Yeah, as long as they can sell 20 of this secret layer to amp up their tournament. And for players, like, yeah, $500 for a chance to win $10,000. Heck yes. It's already annoying enough when Commander events are non-proxy events, because it's like, yeah, just, well, yeah, all these $60 and $80 cards that warp entire games of Magic. Yeah, no, just don't play them. You'll just stick to, like, if you don't want to blow the money on expensive cards to try to do well, not even just to win, just to not be laughed at by other Commander players, you just have to find an archetype that's like ridiculously cheap and play that. Like my motorcycle deck that runs a lot of like those cheap little creatures that can return themselves, and like artifacts that want to be sacrificed and stuff. And for the most part, these cards are decently cheap. In part, though, some of them are not. Like 2 basically identical cards that do basically the same exact thing. One of them's like 10 cents, the other's $11. Because the $11 one is actually just slightly better. I think it's 1 mana artifact. They both have the ability where you can like pay 1, tap, and sacrifice them to get a mana and draw a card. However, one of them is pay 1, tap, and sack it, get a mana, and the other one is pay 1 and tap it to sacrifice it. And the first one has like, when you sacrifice this, draw a card. Like, was put when it dies, draw a card. The other one is when it dies, add a mana of any color and draw a card. It's something weird like that. So, no, I think the first one is pay 1, tap, sacrifice, add a mana, draw a card. And the other one is pay 1, tap, sacrifice, add a mana. When this dies, draw a card. So the second one is the only one that actually applies to the motorcycle deck, because if you just sacrifice the first one to some other effect, you don't get the card, blah 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 blah. Overall, nothing really matters, and frankly, I should try getting into a different hobby. I wonder if there's even enough of a White Shores community online where I can try to get into playing that. Personally, I don't care so much for the 1v1 aspects of games and stuff. If I could find another like tabletop card game that I could play like with a group of people, I think that's kind of what I like about Commander the most. Because when you're playing just against someone, it's like, yeah, let's try to win. Even if you just play for fun, it's a very different mentality. But if you play like with the group, you can be all like, oh yes, I want you to have that good thing, and then just aim at someone else. If you're playing just head to head against someone, it's like, what? Yes, I want you to have that good thing and hurt me with it. Like, no, I don't want you to have that good thing. You're gonna hurt me with it. With more people, you can encourage your opponents to do better to help you. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Rune Factory 3, I suppose. So I just kind of vent for about an hour, and now I have a bit of a sore throat, and I have Cinnamon here, wondering why I'm still talking. I'll take his concerns to heart and end this off. Oof. Nap time.